France was dying. For nearly 100 years, the kingdom had been torn apart by war, cities burned, kings fled, and people prayed for deliverance that never came. In the middle of this chaos, from a quiet village called Domrémy, came a teenage girl who claimed that heaven itself had chosen her to save her country. Her name was Joan of Arc. She was no warrior, no noble, no scholar. Just a peasant girl who tended sheep and listened to the wind whisper across the fields. But at 13, she began to hear voices, Saint Michael, Saint Catherine, and Saint Margaret, she said. They spoke of France, of duty, of destiny. They told her that one day, she would lead an army and crown the rightful king. To most, it sounded like madness. But Joan believed. She left home at 17, traveling through war-torn lands to find the heir to the French throne, the Dauphin, Charles. After days of pleading, she was granted an audience. No one expected much. But when this young girl looked the prince in the eye and said, "God has sent me to make you king," something in her conviction broke through the walls of doubt. Charles tested her. Priests questioned her. Soldiers mocked her. But she never wavered. And somehow, miraculously, she was given command of troops. Dressed in armor, carrying a white banner embroidered with the names of Christ and Mary, Joan rode into battle. At Orléans, she became legend. For months, the city had been under English siege. The French were demoralized, starving, ready to surrender. Then came the girl in white, charging at the front lines, fearless amid the arrows and fire. Her courage spread like wildfire. Within days, the English were driven back, and the impossible had happened. France began to believe again. Victory after victory followed. Joan led the army to Reims, where Charles was finally crowned King of France, just as her voices had foretold. When she stood beside him, holding her banner, tears in her eyes, it seemed the divine had indeed touched the earth. But glory is never safe from envy and politics. After her triumph, the court grew suspicious. The English wanted her dead, and even her allies hesitated to protect her. In 1430, she was captured by Burgundian forces, allies of the English, and sold for ransom. Charles did nothing to rescue her. They put her on trial for heresy. Dozens of judges, priests, and inquisitors demanded that she confess her lies. They accused her of witchcraft, of arrogance, of dressing like a man. For months, they tried to break her spirit. But Joan, barely 19, stood her ground. She said, "I was born for this." In the end, they condemned her anyway. On a spring morning in Rouen, she was led to the stake. The square was silent except for the crackle of wood. As the flames rose, she called out the name of Jesus again and again until her voice was lost in the fire. The girl who had once heard the voices of heaven was gone, but her echo remained. 25 years later, the church that had condemned her declared her innocent. Centuries later, France named her a national heroine. And in 1920, the Catholic Church canonized her as Saint Joan of Arc. A peasant girl who defied kings and armies. A warrior who fought not for glory, but for faith. A martyr whose courage turned defeat into destiny. Joan of Arc was not born to rule, or to command, or to be remembered. She was born to believe, and to remind the world what belief can do. If you enjoyed this story and want to hear more voices from history brought to life, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell so you never miss the next one. Until next time.